The zero-sum algorithm, a corporate revenge story. Elias Thorne had always seen the world in terms of variables, probabilities, and elegant solutions. As the chief architect of Nexus Innovations, his creation, the Phoenix algorithm, was a quantum leap in predictive analytics, capable of forecasting market shifts with uncanny accuracy. Elias was the quiet brilliance. His partner, Marcus Kane, was the charismatic engine, the face, the relentless closer who courted investors and commanded the boardrooms. They were two halves of a perfect machine, bound for a multi-billion-dollar IPO. The betrayal began subtly, not with a bang, but with the chilling subtraction of trust. It was 3 weeks before the IPO. Elias had been working on the final security audit of the Phoenix Code, a pristine 300,000-line masterpiece locked away on a secure internal server. Marcus, usually oblivious to code deeper than a spreadsheet formula, had grown oddly inquisitive about the server's architecture. Elias, blinded by years of shared ambition and friendship, simply supplied the details. The trap was sprung during a routine security test. An internal audit flagged a massive, unauthorized transfer of funds, a cool $20 million, to a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands. The digital footprint was meticulous, right down to the unique keystroke cadence Elias used for secure logins. "We found this, Elias," Marcus said, his voice laced with the grave disappointment of a martyr, standing beside the lead counsel, Mr. Vance. "It points directly to your credentials. 20 million. You were preparing a cushion for yourself after the IPO, weren't you?" Elias felt the floor drop out from under him. The accusation was absurd, the evidence irrefutable. His protests, frantic explanations of a setup, pleas to check external logs, any sign of a breach, were dismissed by the grim, closed faces of the board. Marcus, standing tall and resolute, delivered the final crushing blow. "Elias, I owe you everything for the Phoenix, but I owe Nexus more. For the sake of the company and our investors, you have to step down effective immediately. Vance has the severance papers. We'll call it a stress-induced sabbatical. No charges filed, provided you sign a non-compete and never contest this." The action was swift, cold, and flawless. Marcus had not only stolen the algorithm's control, but had engineered a narrative of greed and instability around Elias. He had also systematically isolated Elias from his inner circle, including his fiancée, Lena, a high-powered corporate lawyer who, when presented with the evidence, chose the stable, ascending future with Marcus over the ruined architect. Elias was escorted out of the building he had co-created, his access badge revoked, his identity smeared. The Phoenix, his life's work, was now Marcus Kane's gilded cage, and Elias Thorne was locked outside, stripped of everything but the burning, crystalline realization. Marcus had played a zero-sum game, and Elias had lost. The next 2 years were a blur of cold rooms, cheap whiskey, and legal battles Elias couldn't afford to win. Nexus Innovations went public, becoming Nexus Global, and Marcus Kane became a legend, a titan of industry, the king of predictives, his face on every magazine. The Phoenix algorithm, slightly rebranded, was their crown jewel. Elias, however, had not broken. He had simply gone quiet. He let the world believe he was a broken man, a washed-up genius who'd self-destructed. But inside, the brilliant mathematical mind was not rusting. It was reforging itself, fueled by pure, absolute vengeance. He adopted a new persona, a ghost in the digital world, the Wraith. The first phase of revenge was preparation, requiring patience that felt like torture. He didn't want Marcus jailed. He wanted the beautiful, powerful structure Marcus had stolen to collapse around him. He wanted Marcus to feel the exact chilling subtraction of everything he valued. Elias used what he had left, a deep, intimate understanding of the Phoenix's structure. He knew its blind spots, its assumptions, its inherent biases. For 2 years, he created a counter-algorithm, a digital predator designed to feed on the very data Nexus Global relied upon. He called it the parasite. He also needed human assets. Marcus Kane, in his ascent, had left a wide trail of broken contracts and betrayed loyalties. Elias found his first key, Zara Vlasov. She was the former head of Nexus's cybersecurity team, a brilliant, fiercely loyal woman who had trained under Elias. Marcus had fired her, not for incompetence, but because she asked too many questions about the misappropriated funds incident. She was cold, meticulous, and held Marcus in utter contempt. Elias found her running a discreet, high-end digital defense consultancy in Geneva. Their first meeting was tense. "You're alive," Zara stated flatly, swirling the ice in her glass. "And you look like a phantom." Marcus ensured I'd be one, Elias replied. "I need you, Zara, not to protect me, but to help me dismantle him from the inside out." He laid out the parasite's capabilities. It could not steal code, but it could track every digital interaction Marcus made, from encrypted messages to silent financial movements. More importantly, it had flagged Marcus's newest obsession, a massive, opaque acquisition of a defunct defense contractor called Aegis Dynamics, later renamed Project Chimera. Marcus is leveraging Nexus Global's stock against Chimera, claiming it holds proprietary military AI, Elias explained. But Aegis was liquidated for a reason. Chimera is a ghost asset. It's a mechanism for capital fraud, a bubble he's inflating to keep the stock price artificially high. It's his weak point. Zara's eyes, initially skeptical, narrowed with focus. "You want to expose the fraud and retrieve your algorithm in the ensuing chaos. I want him to watch Nexus Global, his reputation, and his freedom burn down in the crucible of his own greed," Elias said, his voice flat. "And I want my Phoenix back." She smiled, a sharp, humorless expression. "Welcome back to the game, Elias. Let's build an empire of ruin." The plan's execution hinged on a critical element, access. Zara could bypass digital security, but they needed an internal informant to place hardware, guide their attacks, and provide human intelligence. They found their mole, David Chen. David was Nexus Global's director of corporate strategy, a man Marcus had personally promised the CTO role to, only to give it to a sycophantic junior partner months later. David was ambitious, humiliated, and deeply resentful of Marcus's autocratic rule. Elias, operating remotely from a secluded island off the coast of Finland, used a complex, untraceable communication loop involving quantum encrypted messages hidden within mundane financial reports. He never showed his face, only the name, the Wraith. Their first successful operation, planting a physical keylogger inside Marcus Kane's penthouse smart office. Action sequence, the planting. David Chen, a man whose hands were far more comfortable holding a laser pointer than a drill, was sweating profusely in a $3,000 suit. It was 2 a.m. Marcus Kane was on a private jet to Tokyo. David's access was restricted to the main apartment, not the secure office hidden behind a biometric scanner. David, the system runs on a legacy ZOS framework. The air filtration unit connects to the secondary network before the firewall. Zara's voice, filtered and distorted, buzzed in his custom earpiece. You have 4 minutes before the rotating external camera hits the blind spot again. David was in the laundry chute access panel, a tight concrete space smelling of ozone and bleach. He had to drill a minuscule hole through the steel pipe next to the office wall, feed a fiber optic wire, and attach the micro receiver near Marcus's main server unit. He heard the soft mechanical whir of the camera beginning its sweep. Tension. 3 minutes, David. You're shaking. Breathe. Think of the bonus Marcus took from you last quarter. Zara's voice was the only steady thing in his world. The drill whined, hitting a patch of rebar. David gasped, retracting the drill. Mistake. Acoustic dampeners registered a spike. The on-site security patrol is running a diagnostics loop. It adds 90 seconds to their route. You have 5 minutes now, but you must be silent. David switched to the miniature sonic cutter. It took agonizing minutes. He fed the wire, it snagged. He pulled, and the wire snapped. Down. He had one spare. His hands were slick. He taped the new wire to a thin fiberglass rod, pushed it through the tiny hole, and prayed. Success. He heard the faint magnetic click as the receiver attached itself to the ventilation housing next to the server rack. Confirmed signal lock, David. Get out. Now. David scrambled out, resealing the access panel, his mind racing. He had compromised the untouchable Marcus Kane. He was in. The Wraith strategy was working, with David's keylogger providing a constant stream of high-level communications. Elias and Zara began to piece together the full scope of Project Chimera. It was worse than Elias had imagined. Marcus wasn't just inflating the stock. He was using Nexus Global's predictive reputation to sell Chimera as a proprietary military AI product to several skeptical, high-value government clients. He was selling a ghost, the AI didn't exist, and the money was being laundered through intricate offshore trusts to cover his initial embezzlement of Elias's $20 million. If the government contracts failed, the whole house of cards would collapse, destroying thousands of jobs and creating a massive financial scandal. Elias felt a surge of cold rage. His revenge had to be surgical, targeting Marcus without inflicting maximum collateral damage on the innocent employees who still believed in Nexus. We need to detach the fraud from the legitimate core assets, Elias dictated over the encrypted line to Zara. The core asset is the Phoenix, which Marcus cannot run properly anyway. The fraud is Chimera. We hit Chimera, we hit him personally. Their first wave of attacks was designed to sow internal chaos and panic. Elias deployed the parasite, not to steal, but to subtly misdirect. The parasite injected highly believable but false noise into the Phoenix's less critical data streams. Result: internal discord. Nexus Global's market reports began showing erratic, contradictory predictions about minor sectors. A sudden spike in obscure commodity X, followed by an equally sudden collapse. Marcus, arrogant in his belief in the Phoenix, dismissed the anomalies as algorithmic noise, but began shouting at his analysts. The analysts, already stressed, began fighting amongst themselves. Confidence eroded. Marcus, however, was not stupid. He might have lacked Elias's depth of coding genius, but he possessed an animalistic instinct for financial danger. He noticed the pattern of internal strife and called in a ruthless external security team, Cerberus Solutions, run by a former NSA operative named Lena. No relation to Elias's ex-fiancée. Lena was a predator. Within 3 days, she isolated the source of the noise, not a flaw in the Phoenix, but an external, non-invasive data injection point. "It's a ghost packet," Lena reported to Marcus, standing in his office, the cityscape a distant blur behind her. "It has no source signature, no IP trail. It behaves like a worm, but it's just sending noise. Whoever is doing this knows the Phoenix intimately. They are trying to make us look incompetent." Marcus's eyes narrowed. He knew only one person could know the Phoenix that well. "Thorn," he hissed. "The broken genius. He's alive." Marcus ordered a complete physical security sweep of all key personnel. David Chen was next on the list. David was terrified. "They're sweeping the office now, Wraith. They're running a spectrum analysis on my secure line. I can hear Lena's team outside my door. Action sequence: evading Lena." Elias, calm even across continents, sent a single command to Zara. "Execute Phase 2, the distraction." Zara moved with military precision. She activated a bespoke software package designed to create a momentary, massive diversion, a digital flashbang. Simultaneously, at 3 Nexus Global data centers across the U.S., a coordinated, low-level DDoS attack hit the public-facing Nexus marketing portal. The attack wasn't designed to take anything down, only to generate an impossible flood of low-priority alarms. Lena's security consoles immediately lit up in a blinding red. False alarm, Commander. Massive influx of non-critical DDoS from 3 distributed points. Amateur hour, one of her technicians reported. No, it's not, Lena snapped, her eyes tracking the movement. It's too coordinated to be amateur. It's a smokescreen. They're diverting us from the real target. But the diversion had bought David the crucial minute he needed. While the guards outside his door briefly consulted their buzzing radios, David pulled a pre-taped USB drive from his pocket, uploaded a dummy file onto his work computer, and quickly slammed the secure shutter down on his screen. I'm running a full data scrub on my hard drive, David told the guard who walked in. Routine maintenance. Seems like we're getting hit by trolls again. The moment passed. David remained in place, but the scare was a major psychological blow. Elias knew he couldn't rely on David much longer. The timeline had to accelerate. Elias initiated the final phase. He needed 2 things: the complete ledger of Marcus's Chimera fraud and a window of opportunity to remotely extract the Phoenix algorithm. He targeted the upcoming Nexus Global annual shareholder meeting. Marcus was scheduled to give a keynote address, revealing the groundbreaking partnership with Aegis/Chimera, an event meant to send the stocks soaring. The plan, the simultaneous implosion. 1. The leak. 2 hours before the keynote, Zara would execute a mass send of Marcus's keylogger data, irrefutable evidence of the Chimera fraud, to the SEC, the Department of Defense auditors, and 3 major investigative news outlets. 2. The retrieval. Exactly when the press conference exploded into chaos. The action, thrill moment. Elias would exploit the network instability and human distraction to run a precise 3-minute extraction script for the Phoenix source code, utilizing a known backdoor he deliberately built into the code years ago. The day arrived. The Nexus Global Tower Ballroom was packed with thousands of investors, reporters, and Marcus Kane, bathed in the blinding light of ambition, ready to deliver the performance of his life. David, sitting in the front row, was their eyes and ears. Elias and Zara were a continent away, their entire operation running on 6 dedicated servers, monitored by the parasite. 2 hours to the keynote, Elias. Sending the first wave now. Chimera Financials and Kane's encrypted communications, Zara announced, her voice tight with adrenaline. Elias stared at the green progress bar on his screen. Phoenix retrieval script, 0% initializing. Ups and downs, the defense. 15 minutes before Marcus was set to speak, an emergency message flashed on Zara's console. Alert, external firewall anomaly, incoming threat. Marcus knew, Zara whispered, her jaw clenched. Lena. She set up a perimeter defense that is actively hunting our leak vectors. She's trying to intercept the mass email blast. Can she stop it? Elias asked. She's slowing it down. The email is segmented, but her deep packet inspection is isolating the finance files. If she blocks them, we lose the element of surprise. Then we force the issue, Elias commanded. David, initiate the override. David, heart hammering against his ribs, pulled out his phone. He opened a simple, pre-written text message and hit send. Emergency. Network failure in 3, 2. The message went to a single recipient, the Nexus Global Chief Information Officer, CIO, a nervous man named Dr. Harris. The message was a fake emergency diagnostic code that was guaranteed to trigger a panic response in any paranoid tech professional. In the control booth, Dr. Harris saw the text. Fake, but the format is identical to an emergency fail-safe protocol. Paranoia 1. Dr. Harris, sweating under the pressure, ordered a level 3 network isolation, a complete, immediate walling off of the Nexus Global internal network from the public internet. This was the opening Elias needed. The isolation order effectively cut off Lena's external defensive perimeter, sacrificing public safety for internal security. It was a blunder born of panic. "She's blind," Zara cried out. "The leak is through. All targets confirmed receipt." Marcus Kane stepped up to the podium. The lights dimmed, and the massive screen behind him displayed the soaring graph of Nexus Global's stock, labeled, "The future is predictive." He opened his mouth to deliver his prepared lines about the Chimera partnership when the first phone went off, then the second, and the third. It wasn't a ring. It was the shrill, persistent vibration of breaking news alerts. Reporters in the front row, usually focused on Marcus, were now staring at their devices, their faces contorted in disbelief. Headline: SEC investigation launched into Nexus Global's Project Chimera. Massive accounting fraud suspected. Headline: DOJ probes Kane for insider trading and embezzlement related to co-founder's exit. The room noise went from a murmuring excitement to a deafening roar of disbelief and panic. Flashbulbs went off, not for Marcus, but for the story. Marcus, seeing the horror on the faces, knew instantly. Elias. His face, usually so perfectly controlled, went white. He could hear the murmuring of the word fraud echo through the microphone. Action thrill sequence, the extraction. In Finland, Elias saw the chaos unfold on the live feed. His own screen displayed the progress bar. Phoenix retrieval script, 12% running. The isolation Dr. Harris ordered was perfect, sealing the internal network, but also creating a secure tunnel for Elias to exploit the Phoenix's back door. But Lena was still inside. Zara's console flashed. Lena, attack, brute force, IP trace active. Lena is rerouting through the main internal backbone, Zara yelled. She's trying to trace the intrusion back to David now. David, get out! Elias typed an immediate command. David, seeing two men in black suits moving towards him in the chaotic room, ran. He pushed through the crowd, heading for a back exit. His only thought, survival. Meanwhile, Elias stared at the screen. 55% complete. Lena's trace was gaining ground. If it hit 100%, she would find David's hardware, and they would lose their clean exit. Elias had one card left. He initiated the parasite's final function, a high-priority, self-destruct sequence designed to mimic a critical hardware failure in the main Nexus Global server room, a room that housed the core Phoenix unit. The moment the script executed, the lights in the ballroom flickered, and the massive stock graph screen went dark, replaced by a single pulsing crimson light, the emergency shutdown indicator. The noise in the room died. Everyone looked up at the darkened screen, including Marcus, who was now being swarmed by frantic reporters. 78% complete. Lena, sitting in the security room, screamed in frustration. The main server room just went into hard lock. It's not an attack, it's a system failure. We just lost the trace. The chaos of the system failure bought the final seconds. 99%, 100%, complete. Phoenix source code secured. The events of that day became known as the Nexus collapse. Marcus Kane was arrested that evening, attempting to board a private jet out of the country. The evidence, his own words, his own transactions, meticulously logged by the Wraith, was unassailable. Project Chimera was a phantom, and the stock immediately went into freefall. The poetic justice was absolute. Marcus was brought down by the very ambition and digital technology he had stolen. Elias watched the news coverage from the quiet security of his remote location. Zara sat beside him, a rare, genuine smile touching her lips. "The Phoenix is safe, Elias," she said, looking at the newly secured, untainted code. "What now?" "Now, the ghost resurfaces," Elias replied. Elias Thorne did not return to the spotlight as Elias Thorne. That identity was too damaged, too tainted by Marcus's lies. Instead, 6 months later, a quiet, meticulously structured new investment firm, backed by unknown but vast capital, appeared in the market. Its name, Ethel Analytics. Ethel was led by a mysterious, low-profile CEO named Adam Sterling, Elias's new identity, who quickly gained a reputation for uncanny, ethical investment success. The engine driving Ethel? The Phoenix algorithm, refined, secured, and now dedicated to creation, not just prediction. The final act of corporate revenge was not the destruction of the old, but the pristine, ethical construction of the new. Elias Thorne had been victimized by a zero-sum game, but as Adam Sterling, he proved that a genius could win the long game, not by destroying others, but by retrieving what was rightfully his and building something better in the ashes of betrayal. He saw the world in variables and solutions again. But now, he understood the most powerful variable of all was the human desire for justice. His heart, once frozen by betrayal, finally beat with a quiet rhythm of equilibrium.